In this video, not only I'm going to explain the new Season 16 items, but I'm also going to help you guys understand how the super items really work and how you should be building step by step enchanters or engage. We are going to talk about the boots, super item, first item, second item, everything for you to go into a game and fully understand how you should be building depending on the enemy team comp and your own team comp. Reminder that you got it as well in the super document that is in the description, so feel free to check that out. Let's start with vision. So the question that you guys always ask is how many control wards should I buy and when I should buy a control ward. Control wards, you always want to buy one on each base. The exception I would say is that when you're playing Enchanter or any champion that you really want your first item, for example, Imperial Mandate on Nami, then maybe you want to hold on to your gold and try to look for that item as soon as possible. But usually you want one control ward every single time you base. Now with the quest, you can get control wards for 40 gold, which is great to stack 2 control wards. When would I buy 2 control wards? I would buy 2 control wards when an important objective is coming up, and you can use 2 control wards to have more control over important objectives, Third Dragon, Nashor, Soul Fight, all of these kind of situations. When to choose Warding Trinket, Sweeper, or Blue Trinket, especially level 1, there is some questions always like, when should I go for Warding Trinket or Sweeper? I have a great video explaining this in my channel that I posted already last year. It's still very valid, so I recommend you guys checking that out. Potions, when to buy the normal potions, the 50 gold potion, 2 at the start of the game. Maybe if you're playing Yuumi, you don't need potions and you're going control ward, but never play Yuumi, don't play Yuumi, please. And then after that, only buy one more potion after the first base if you have gold for it, right? Let's say you base with 450 gold, you get a ruby crystal, and then you go for a potion. Now, refillable potion, in the other hand, I would recommend buying this if you can after your first base or after the second base. It's a really strong item, right? It's a really strong potion. It gives you a value of 1.5 ruby crystals, which is very strong in early game. It's great not only against poke lanes, but also when you are playing engage, because you can buy HP and this refillable potion and be very useful in skirmishes. It makes sure that you can keep fighting early skirmishes and make a lot of difference, and it's very underrated consumable. And I will make sure that please don't buy it after minute 10 or after the third recall already, when it's later into the game, and you can sell it after minute 14 because it loses a lot of value. Let's talk about stacking early components, and let's start with Dark Seal. Dark Seal is a very strong first item because it gives you access to Jack of all trades proc very early. Like with 350 gold, you get also AP and HP. You get 5 stacks of Jack of all trades if you are playing with that. And if you are playing enchanters or mages, especially with enchanters in low elo, it's extremely broken, because if you know how to position yourself and the enemy team comp doesn't have like tons of assassins, so you are not you don't imagine yourself dying a lot in the game, it can be insanely strong with champions like Nami, Sona, even Janna. And you can start stacking and getting that AP, and maybe later into the game you can transform it or build into a Mejai, and then you can make sure that you are carrying, because AP on enchanters is actually really strong, especially if you pair it together with your normal items. When to build it into Mejai, make sure that you have like 8 or 10 stacks, you already have your first item, and then you can buy Mejai. You can skip boots because Mejai gives you like move speed, so you don't need to really buy your T2 boots yet if you have enough gold to just one-shot the Mejai. When to build tier is when you're going for Diadem or Fimbulwinter. It's normally a core item for Taric and Sona. Now, you want to buy tier first base, especially in Season 16. I know that you guys know from the laning guide, you want to make sure that you get 400 gold, base fast, and start stacking the tier. Some champions stack it really fast, like Taric and Sona. Other champions take a bit more time. So make sure that if you are planning to buy a tier item, make sure that you start very early and start stacking as soon as possible. It also allows you to have a better laning phase if you just buy it after the first base. Early game components. One of the main reasons I'm doing this video is because of this chapter, because 90% or more of supers fail on the early components and when to buy them. I'm also not going to explain the theory. I'm also going to give you an example, in-game example, or more in-game examples at the end of this chapter, because I want to make sure that you guys understand also like watching different situations. Now, there are 4 different stats that we have to focus on in early game. It's going to be move speed, HP, mana regen, and AP. Those 4 stats, you want to make sure that you understand when to buy them in early game. Now, for the items you are going to buy, there is Kindle Gem, the Mirror, Forbidden Idol, and the Wisp. That gives you AP and move speed. We want to focus on when to buy these components. Now, when should we rush or go for Kindle Gem? Usually when you're playing Engaged Champions, you want to buy Kindle Gem. You want to make sure that you have your HP, and also it builds into Solari, Ziggs, Bundle Pipes. It builds into a lot of good items. But when you are playing Enchanter, you want to rush HP when you're playing against Hook Champions because it gives you more survivability, especially because this Kindle Gem builds into Moonstone. It builds into Mejai, right? So you want to make sure that this Echoes of Helia as well, you want to make sure that you choose correctly between HP or mana regen and AP. All right. So if you're playing Enchanter against Enchanter, usually you are going to rush for the Mirror because it will give you AP and mana regen. If you are playing Lulu into Nautilus, you probably want to rush Kindle Gem first and pair it together with a refillable potion or with boots so you get move speed, HP, and the refillable potion is going to give you more HP during the skirmish and fight, so you can expose yourself because you don't really need the mana regen and the AP tome. So let's say you want to build Arden first. Now you value mana regen a lot more than AP because the laning phase is spamming a lot of abilities. You are not really going to win the laning phase, so you just want to have being able to use more your abilities. Then you're going to go for Forbidden Idol. But if you want to bully or you want to rotate faster, maybe you want to go for the Wisp, which is also going to give you move speed and more AP. An example is Annie. When you're rushing Surelias with Annie, you might want to go for the Wisp instead of the Mirror because you are not so mana hungry and you want to be able to rotate a bit faster, especially if you pair it together with your tier 1 boots. So the only thing that I ask you is that when you're basing, you make sure that with the money you have or with the gold you have, you think these 4 stats, HP, move speed, AP, and mana regen, which one you need most to play the laning phase into the early skirmishes. We always have to link it up to the early skirmishes, which items are going to be valuable for me in this type of situations. Now, let's go into some examples so you guys can understand a bit better. Let's take an example of one of the students I'm helping right now. They are playing Leona Nyla against Lux Lucian. Lux Lucian usually wants to burst. I understand that some misconception is that they are a pokey lane, but Lux function with combo, so does Lucian, so they want to burst. Now, usually you are going to base with 400, 600, 800, and 1000 gold around those type of bases. If you base with more, then you have a great laning phase, maybe buy an entire item. So you want to make sure that you understand which components you should be buying first, okay? So let's take an example of an engaged champion, and then we are going to take an example, maybe more examples of enchanters. So first of all, he bases with 971 gold. Excellent. It's a really good base in this type of situations. Now, he doesn't have magical boots. So that's important because magical boots doesn't allow you to buy early tier 1 boots. So what should he buy? What are the best buys that he can do? Now, he wants to spend 400 gold with worth of HP, okay? So he is going to buy Ruby Crystal, or he should buy Ruby Crystal. He doesn't do it. He does a mistake. So that's why also I'm taking this example so you guys can learn from it, because you guys always do this mistake as well. And after this, he can get 300 gold for move speed. Both stats work really well with Leona. You get your 150 HP from Ruby Crystal, and also you get your move speed. What should he buy next? Now, some of you would say, well, let's get a Control Ward and maybe a Cloth Armor, Weight based or something like that. No, you should be buying Refillable Potion. Refillable Potion is going to give him like 1.5 or 1.3, whatever it is, worth of Ruby Crystals. But it's a really good buy because together with move speed and the home guards means that you can trade, use your refillable potions, trade again, base, and come back with a more refillable potion, more HP value. So it's stacking and you can use it very well in early game, especially with the home guards meta right now. And after that, you can go for the 75 gold of the vision, right? For the Control Ward. Control Ward is really good with Leona because it allows Amumu to have spots where he can gank, and also Leona could place it in the river, and it allows him to just move around the map and be able to roam. I'm also going to make a roaming guide after in the future, so probably this month. So make sure to follow me if you want to know more about the roaming guide. But what he ends up buying, Kindle Gem and a Control Ward, I think, or Kindle Gem and a potion. Now, Kindle Gem, a potion, 2 potions. I would never recommend to buy more than 1 potion. And then he goes Sweeper and Control Ward. Now, this is very inefficient because ability haste at the start of the game, meh. It's not a lot of value getting Kindle Gem. Kindle Gem is nice for sometimes enchanters against hook champions because you will get some ability haste and more HP to fight the hook champions. So you could go Kindle Gem and 1 potion. That's fine because normally when you are playing against champions that all in, you don't really need refillable potion that much because there's going to be probably just 1 trade and there's not so much poke. Twitch Lulu against Jin Swain. I just died in from a gank. We just got ganked and I died. So the important part here is that I have 670 gold. And I want you guys to think, what would you buy against Jin Swain as Lulu with 666 gold? It's a bit cursed, I don't know. It's totally random, guys, don't judge me, please. But yeah, Lulu might be a bit, we never know. Might be a demon, Lulu. So I have it pretty clear. Remember of the 4 stats that we have, move speed, AP, HP, mana regen. What do I want here? I want to get Ardent as my item, first item. So let me pause here. I'm checking what I should buy. I'm going to get boots. Not only I'm going to get boots for the move speed, so now, right now I have move speed, which is great against Swain because I can dodge his E easier. I can maybe roam to a skirmish if needed, but usually in lane it looks pretty good. I can dodge the W of Jin way easier as well. Now I want to get mana regen because I'm an enchanter and I want to keep Wing and spam E on Twitch as well. So I want to make sure that I can keep laning and have the Twitch. Now I would have bought a refillable potion. We can go back here when I end up buying the Control Ward. So I have 186 and I value Vision way more than my refillable potion. Refillable potion here will be fine, but you are dropping Vision, right? You are dropping the Control Ward. I like to play around Control Wards because it allows me to have more control over bot side. I can help Zed gank better or set up a gank, or maybe I can rotate in the future for a dragon and my Control Ward can be really useful. So I value Control Ward more, and then I just take 1 potion. I could have taken 2 potions, but I take 1 potion. And I just go back bot lane. I don't think I'm going to trade that much because I'm already level 4 going to level 6. So probably I'm going to stay back more in this laning phase. So I'm not going to get two potions because I don't really want to be fighting myself. I just want to make sure that Twitch is able to survive the longest. Here I'm basing and we are playing Ezreal Karma into Ashbard. And I have a lot of gold actually. And I'm going for Redemption first. I'm trying Redemption first this game. I could have went for Mika to be honest. And I have Magical Boots. Now I want to play around my Millennium and Jungler a bit more this game because Ezreal is also able to play alone because he's Ezreal. He can wave clear from far away. And it's very difficult to dive. So what am I going to do? I'm going to prioritize here AP and a bit of CDR together with a bit of mana regen. So I could have went directly for the Forbidden Idol, which gives me heal and shield power and also more mana regen. But I decided to go for CDR and AP because it's a bit more greedy, a bit looking for a bit more early damage as well. So I can fight early on and add a bit more to the skirmishes, but it depends what you guys want to do, right? It depends if you guys want to go for a refillable potion, tome, and mana regen together with the Control Ward. That also could have been a really good buy if you are going to play a bit more laning phase, right? But here, because I don't think I'm going to play laning phase, and also I'm really fast out of the map, I'm not going for that refillable potion. Looking at it back, I don't think it's that bad to just go for tome, mana regen, refillable potion, and Control Ward, so I can skip the CDR. But Karma loves CDR. Is one of the champions that really likes to have ability haste, so it's okay buy. Now, to finish this chapter is make sure you understand the 4 important stats, which one you want to prioritize, what are you going to do in the next minutes, and from there you are going to see a huge difference in your gameplay, at least the early game, which is also like big part of how support impact the game. It's in early game. And yeah. Again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments and let's go for the next one. Let's talk about boots because I have a super important message to tell you because since Split 2 from last year, they changed a lot, the boots changed a lot because they got nerfed, changed, reworked, some boots that doesn't exist anymore, and now we don't have tier 3 boots. So the order of buying boots is T1 boots, first item, and then T2 boots. Now, even with engaged champions, let's say, for example, Rel or Nautilus, buying T1 boots into first item like Locket, Ziggs, Bundle Pipes, we will talk about those items later on in the video. It's way better, and then going for T2 boots. There is too much move speed in the game right now, especially with home guards. Every champion almost have like a move speed or some ability to make them go faster. So you don't really need to rush those T2 boots. You can make it in time to most objectives or every objective without having the need of extra move speed. Also, the move speed rune got buffed, so you can also take that to roam better. When to get magical boots is when you want to rush your first item, or for example, you are playing engage into engage. I really like to go magical boots. Let's say, for example, you're playing Leona into Nautilus. I like to go magical boots because it allows me to build a lot of HP, rush my first item, and be extra tanky in teamfights because I don't really need the move speed at the moment right now. Maybe it changes in the future. I will update you guys, but don't feel pressure that, oh, you play engage, don't go magical boots. That's complete nonsense. It's true that Hex Flash is really nice, or it's true that having tier 1 boots is nice to roam, but because roaming is very limited now, I'm also, as I said before, I'm going to make sure that I get out a video about roaming, so it makes more sense to you guys. Roaming is very limited. You roam to 2-3 plays in early game, so you don't have to feel like that forced to buy T1 boots if you want to prioritize your first item. Now, when to buy Swiftness? Swiftness, you are going to buy Swiftness when you want to go fast, when you want to roam, or when you want to survive with enchanters. So very simple. Swiftness, when you play engage, make sure you buy them when you want to roam, and there is no real value for resistances boots, which we are going to talk in a bit. And enchanter, you want to survive, right? You want to be faster in the teamfights and reposition better if you are playing against like champions that are going to go towards you and you just want to kite them out. CDR boots is great for enchanters that are going to stick to a pair. For example, you are playing Lulu Twitch. You are going to stick with Twitch anyways, so you are not going to move around that much. So CDR boots is like a very good item to stay with a pair or to move around with the jungler, because you don't really need to switch out or reposition really fast because maybe you don't need it. Now, Lucidity boots are really, really broken for engaged champions as well that uses flash, alright? They use flash together paired with Cosmic. Your flash goes to a cooldown of 3 minutes and 50 seconds, if I'm not wrong. And it's core item with, for example, Rel, Nico. It can be really good with Annie as well. It can be really good with Alistar, because Alistar already has the ultimate, so you are pretty tanky with Alistar, so you don't really need resistances boots. Maybe you want swiftness, but make sure that you understand when to build this type of boots with the engage or enchanter. Now, when to get steel caps or mercs? Steel caps when enemy team is full AD, and also mercs when the enemy team has a lot of CC. Not AP, you don't really buy mercs because the enemy team has a lot of AP, but CC. You want the mercs for the tenacity. The tenacity is really broken. Make sure you don't spend your gold for mercs just because the enemy team has what's called AP damage, because it's very expensive and you are buying it for the tenacity, right? So make sure that they have CC, so you buy mercs for CC. Now, steel caps or mercs, the big difference is if there's mixed damage. If you want to be more tanky, make sure you buy steel caps. The steel caps makes you way more tanky than mercs because, like, during the fight, it's going to give you more value, be way better because of the passive of the boots. Now, Magic Pen boots, you buy them with mages. I don't think any enchanter really wants to buy them. I think maybe in the future, if something changes and you want, there's some build that it's very exotic and you can buy Magic Pen boots, but right now it's just with mages. When to buy anti-heal? Don't worry, guys. If this video is already a bit too long, probably there's going to be longer if you want to know about this, because I will send you to another video. I made another video just talking about anti-heal. My direct message is don't buy Bramble Best. If you are buying Bramble Best, it's because you're doing a lot of things wrong, and you should for sure check this video. Well, guys, defensive items, and this probably, I don't know if you have heard this anywhere, but if you know, then I'm very happy for you, but probably you don't know this. I'm going to talk about Seekers, which is the Mini Zonias, Verdant Barrier, and QSS. Now, when to go Seekers is when you are going to play champions like Nico, Morgana, that you want to build into Zonias. Very clear, very normal. Maybe Nami or any enchanter that wants to survive against assassins. You can also build Seekers into Zonias later on, because you can also use the AP. Now, the interesting part is why would you buy Verdant Barrier? Who is buying Verdant Barrier? Verdant Barrier you can build with Rel or Alistar, for example, against Talia Poppy. If you build this item, you are going to be able to doubly forward and engage without Poppy being able to stop you with the W or Talia with the E. So sometimes when you play this type of champions, it's like, oh, it's very annoying to play against Poppy, very annoying to play against Talia, but you can skip this by building this item. So you could go, for example, first item Ziggs, and then you can go Burden Barrier. Burden Barrier gives you MR, and it gives you AP, so Alistar and Ren benefit from AP, not like you are going to one-shot people, but it's not like too troll to buy it. And plus you get really huge benefits from the active. QSS, when should you buy QSS? Now QSS is a very important item for one champion. And one champion only, I think it's Tamkench. When you play against Tamkench, you want to eat your allies and make sure that they survive. If you play against Vi, if you play against Malzahar, if you play against Nocturne, if you play against Varus, Ashe, it would be really nice for you to ulti the person that gets ulted. Now, if you get ulted, you maybe die. And you don't really want that. You don't really want to be an easy target. So you build QSS to make sure that you can cleanse the Malzahar ultimate, the Ashe ultimate, the Varus ultimate. But not only that, the QSS also cleanse the Nocturne ultimate. So when you're playing against Nocturne, you could QSS when he ults, and then you can see everything that's happening, and you can just eat the target that is getting engaged, right? Because sometimes the fights are very messy. Nocturne ultis, and you don't know where you are, and this can be like very dangerous for your team. And then with QSS, you can save them. Let's talk about super items. First of all, what I want to mention about super items is that they got really nerfed when they got released. So it's not like a deal breaker that you misplayed a super item, or it's not like it has to be perfect, right? There are some utility. I'm going to explain it today. Also, understand that you can sell your super item later on and buy another one for 180 gold or 200 gold extra. So you can always change during the game your super item for the ones that didn't know. Some people don't know, so now you guys know. Zazak, for mages, you want to do more damage. It's not insane because it got nerfed like after release. So yeah, if you are playing mages or you want to do extra damage early on, buy Zazak. I would not recommend it for enchanters or engaged champions. I would just let it for mages. That works really well. Dreammaker, when you're shielding, healing an ally, and you don't really need the extra survivability from the other ones that we are going to talk right now in a bit. And you just want to make sure that your teammates are safer and stronger. It's very like just normal. You're playing Enchanter, shield and heal. You don't really need to survive because you're not scared to die. Dreammaker. Celestial Opposition, a very good super item with any engaged champions. Also, when you are not playing with Aftershock, I would highly recommend playing Celestial Opposition because at the end of the day, you want to be tanky and survive. Also, it's really nice for the slow. For example, Pike, when you go in, it pops. It's easier for you to hit your E, your Q. So the mini slow is also great for you to secure some abilities as well. For enchanters, I would recommend this item if you are playing against a lot of all-in or you are the first target, and it's very difficult for you to position yourself well in teamfights because maybe the enemy team has like a Nautilus that is going to ult you, you're playing Soraka, maybe there's too many assassins, so you want to make sure that you survive. It's a really good buy later on in the game after 30 minutes when you're already full build or you have like a lot of items. Dreammaker is not really going to make the game super easy, so Celestial Opposition, if you survive, which is the most important thing to do, then pick that up. You want to pick Bloodstone when you're going to kill the first target. That means that you go in and you want to kill the first target you CC or you touch. For example, with Elise is great, with Pantheon is great, but not only that, is when you're playing with a Jinx, Ahri, Viego that really loves resets, you want to prioritize one target so they can take the reset and be stronger, right? Jinx gets excited when she gets a reset, and Viego gets the soul, so he can ulti again, he can use more abilities, so he's way stronger, and Ahri gets another ulti. Any champion that gets reset, make sure that maybe Bloodstone is great. Now, Bloodstone is core with some supports, like for example, Sona. Why with Sona? Because Sona, you are going to like use your auto attack empowered a lot with W, E, Q, especially W and E later on in the game. So you always are popping that Bloodstone onto the enemies, which is really, really nice. Now, Solstice, I would say it's like the most neutral of them all. You are always slowing with a lot of enchanters. You are also slowing with a lot of engaged champions, especially neutral champions. Neutralizers like Braum. It's pretty good. Tamkench, right? It's you are not going to build something else. Maybe you're going to build Celestial, but it gives you move speed, gives move speed to the other one. It gives a bit of healing. So it's just, if you want to get the extra repositioning, like you want to benefit from the move speed. And there's also a really nice combo with bundle bites, which we are going to talk about later. It gives move speed when you slow, or CC, which also bundle pipe gives you move speed when you slow CC. So it can be a really great combo if you're building bundle pipes to go extra fast. Let's start with Enchanter Items. So finally we go to the important items, right? The strong items. Now I'm going to explain when to build them and when to make the decision. Now some champions have core items, like for example, let's start with Imperial Mandate. Imperial Mandate is a 100% Nami item. You want to build it with Nami 99% of the times first item. Maybe if you're playing against Engage, you want something like Moonstone that gives you more survivability, or Mikael, but usually Mandate is the best. Suboptimal for other supports, so I would say you just get it first item with Nami. Now, other champions that have core items, for example, Echoes of Hylia right now is completely broken, right? So let's talk about Echoes of Hylia, what it does. Every time you do damage, you store some healing power, and the next time you heal or shield an ally, it's going to give that flat healing to that ally. It's really good for champions like Sona that is always fighting and spamming W, because you always get damage out. So champions that get damage out and can use a heal or shield is very, very nice. Now, if you combo this together with the diadem, while you do damage, you can heal as well, because while you're in combat, the diadem heals as well. Now, what I want to say in this video is that I will never recommend, for now, when this video is made, to play mage healing. It doesn't make sense, because for you to complete Diadem and Echoes of Hylia to start healing, it has to be minute 18-20. So if you're playing a mage and you want to heal, then it's going to be very far into the game, and it's going to be very useless till that moment. And even in that moment, it's not going to be great in most of the games, because most of the games are very fast paced. So there's no time for any heals, okay? So make sure that you build Echoes of Hylia when you are playing like a Enchanter that does damage while fighting, and also like obviously is healing and shielding. Now, questions about Karma, for example. Karma doesn't really want to use her ultimate Q in mid to late game. So, and it's very complicated for her to stack reliable Echoes of Hylia, because she's not hitting Qs all the time. If the enemy team has like big frontline, then sure, you can look for it, but I would prioritize other items for Karma, for example. Moonstone is a great item if you are going to build heal and shield builds, right? So for example, Karma, if you want to go for the shield build, you will build Moonstone first item, okay? Core item, Moonstone, and then you are going to start building the next items. So usually you guys understand really well when to buy your first item, but you don't really know when to buy the next items. So when should you go for Surelias? Surelias is going to be great when your team has 0 engage or they have no engage, and you have to run towards the enemy to start a fight, or move speed is really strong in those situations. Like let's say you don't have any sort of engage, as I said, Surelias is going to be extremely strong. Ardent, on the other hand, is also going to be extremely strong if you have an hyper carry, or you have 2 players that use attack speed really nice in the game. For example, Yasuo in the mid lane and Kindred jungle. Staff of the Flowing Water is the same with Ardent, but I would not recommend it to build it at all. I think I've never built it like this season, and last season maybe once or twice. If you have a lot of AP champions, sure, build the staff, maybe third item or so. Redemption got nerfed for Engage this season. Now it's only for Enchanters and Mages. Very strong item. You can pair it with Moonstone, because it also gives shield and heal power. And you can do it first item, second item as well. It's a great item when there's a lot of AoE damage, and also when you're playing with split pushers. Because when you play with split pushers, you can play mid lane as an enchanter usually, and then you can redemption to a silent, and while you are walking to the silent to help, the redemption will fall, and you can help a lot of teammates that are fighting in silent before you arrive. Mikaels, you want to build it when there is like a very obvious CC on the enemy team, like for example Ashe, Varus, Lissandra, and you want to get rid of it, and your AD carry, which usually happens a lot in low elo, they don't take cleanse. So Mikaels is a great item for that. So you can build it first item, second item, third item, just when you feel like the impact of the cleanse is valuable. Downcore, I would buy it always as third item. So you want to pair Downcore with Moonstone, shield and heal power item, like for example Ardent, Redemption, Mikael, for example, as well, and then you go for Downcore. Downcore is a great third option because it empowers all your shields and heals, and it looks very, very strong once you like already have 2 items. to add. So yeah, I would recommend Downcore then. Diadem, when you need to go for a mana hungry enchanter, I would go for Diadem. Right now, maybe it's a bit overrated. With Sona, you could also go Seraphs if you want. But Diadem looks really solid with these champions. I like it with Glacial Jan as well because she's very mana hungry. But with any enchanters that you really think that you need mana. If not, I would just go Echoes of Elia if you can use it, or Moonstone first item. Let's talk about engage tanky builds items. Now, let's start with Trailblazer. I want to get rid of Trailblazer. So Trailblazer is good if you buy it first item. If you don't buy it first item, don't buy it. It's nice to roam for certain champions. Maybe Maokai if you want to go for Trailblazer. Rel Trailblazer with Glacial, it was a thing last year. I'm not buying it a lot this season. Maybe it gets buffed and we can use it better. But right now with less roaming, I would not recommend it that much. Maybe some champions can use it pretty good. But yeah, the same thing goes with Deadmans. Deadmans is great with, for example, Bard first item, Poppy first item. Buy it as first item. You want to use the move speed and the stats that Deadmans give you. Also, it's pretty expensive. So you just go for it first item. Now, let's talk about, we have Locket, Bundle Pipes, and Ziggs. When do we buy those items? Now, these three items are going to be the core first items for most of supports. So let's understand when we are buying each item right now. Now, Ziggs got buff, so he gets extra ability haste, and also it's great into melee champions. And if you are playing a champion that goes in and wants to use their ultimate a lot more, I love it with Rakan, for example. With Alistar, it's really nice. And you play, as I said before, against a lot of melee champions, which you can just use slow and burn, which is not like massive, but it's pretty nice effectively. So you go Ziggs first. Now, Locket, when do you go Locket first? Is when there is AoE damage in the enemy team and you are going to fight grouped. For example, you're playing as Diana, Cartus. It's a really nice item to build then. Bundle Pipes, when you have an hyper carry or you have two auto attack users at least in your team, like it could be a Jax, Grace Jungle, Kindred Jungle, like I said before, Viego maybe as well, that you can use the attack speed, and also your AD carry probably will also benefit, even if it's a Jhin. If you have like Kindred Jax, it will be nice to have a Bundle Pipes as well, because you are playing with the rest of the team also, and probably roaming to those lanes, because if your AD carry cannot use Bundle Pipes, that means that they are pretty good at playing weak side, so you can play with the other attack speed users. Now, after you build those items, you have to ask yourself, which item should I go next? You could choose one of the other three, or you could go, for example, for Night's Vow. When do you build Night's Vow? It's when you have an hyper carry and you want to make sure that they survive longer, right? When they survive longer, you can go for Night's Vow. It's a really good second item. If not, you can go for a defensive item as well. If there is a lot of magic damage on the enemy team, then you could go, for example, for Abyssal Mask. Also, Abyssal Mask is great if the team has multiple AP champions, like for example, Jungle AP, Mid Laner AP. Abyssal Mask will help so they do a bit more damage. And if there's a lot of AD damage on the enemy team, you could go for Randweight if they have crit, or you could go for Frozen Heart if they have attack speed users. Now, last item, the new item, Protoplasm. When would you buy Protoplasm? Protoplasm is great with Leona, great with Poppy, great with Rel, with champions that have magic resist and armor in their kit, because it amplifies the healing depending on the armor and the magic resist. It's a great first item. In my opinion, I don't really like it later on because it doesn't scale that well. Maybe it gets buffed or changed for later on. But right now, it's a great first item, so you take it and you start fighting, because the passive healing, or when it procs, it's really nice and really good with, for example, Leona W, Poppy W, Aftershock as well, or Rel getting resistances from everyone. So you can fight for longer and survive, and you can force like early fights. So if you're looking to fight an early and you have a good early game team to look for some skirmishes, like for example, Lee Sin jungle, Viego jungle, Grace jungle that wants to invade, probably your jungler more than anything, look for this item and then you can just start going in. Roaming guide, vision guide, champions guides, they're all coming in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to try my best to post one weekly video. Also, you guys can check out the streams that I'm doing 5 times per week. You guys have the votes as well in the channel. Come by, say hi. Most of the things that come out in the video, I talk about them constantly on stream, so you guys can also learn a lot from there. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, and if you have any questions, let me know as always in the comments. Thank you. Bye bye.